Welcome back, Coinology. In the vast world of numismatics, there are certain coins that capture the imagination not only of collectors but of everyday people who stumble across them and wonder if what they hold in their hand might actually be a treasure worth millions of dollars. And one such example that continues to fascinate the market and inspire endless conversations is the 2007 Lincoln cent coin minted in Denver, a coin that on the surface may look like an ordinary 1-cent piece that you could find in your pocket change, but upon deeper inspection and when considering the rarity of certain conditions, errors, and collector demand, we begin to see why this coin has become such a legend and why its market value in certain cases is now being quoted in the hundreds of millions of dollars, with reports saying that a rare specimen tied to this very date and mint mark has an estimated value of over $465 million, making it one of the most talked about modern American coins ever produced by the United States Mint. And the story of this coin is not simply about copper's ink weight and face value, but rather about design, history, symbolism, and how small variations in minting can create massive opportunities in the collecting world. When we talk about the 2007 Lincoln penny, we need to remember that it belongs to the Lincoln cent series, a coin series that started back in 1909 when President Theodore Roosevelt sought to improve the artistic merit of American coinage and commissioned Victor David Brenner to design a new 1-cent coin to commemorate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Brenner's design, featuring the bust of Lincoln on the obverse and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse, became one of the most iconic coin designs in United States history. The wheat cent ran from 1909 until 1958, and in 1959 the mint updated the reverse to feature the Lincoln Memorial designed by Frank Gasparo, and this memorial reverse remained in use all the way until 2008, so the 2007 penny still carried the Lincoln Memorial design on its back, a design that millions of Americans were accustomed to seeing every single day in their change pockets, purses, and cash registers. Yet within this familiar design lies a deeper story. The obverse of the coin, of course, depicts the right-facing bust of Abraham Lincoln with the word Liberty to the left of his profile, the year of mintage 2007 to the right, and just below the date the small D mint mark, indicating that this particular coin was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado. Also above Lincoln's head is the national motto, "In God We Trust," which has appeared on Lincoln cents since their inception back in 1909. Now as for the reverse, we see the iconic Lincoln Memorial in the center with the words United States of America across the top, E pluribus unum just above the memorial, and the denomination 1 cent boldly at the bottom of the coin. It is worth noting that if you look carefully with a magnifying glass, you can even see the tiny representation of Lincoln's statue seated inside the memorial, a detail that many casual observers never notice, and that tiny detail demonstrates the artistry and precision that went into the coin's design. In terms of physical specifications, the 2007 penny, like other pennies from that era, is composed primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating, giving it its characteristic reddish-brown appearance. Since 1982, the U.S. Mint shifted from mostly copper cents to zinc-based cents to reduce costs, and by 2007 each coin weighed approximately 2.5 grams with a diameter of 19 millimeters and a thickness of 1.52 millimeters. It is a small coin, yet within that small frame lies history, art, symbolism, and in rare cases extraordinary value. Now ordinarily a 2007 penny would only be worth face value 1 cent or perhaps a few cents to collectors in uncirculated condition, but when you begin to consider mint errors, proof-like qualities, and other extraordinary factors, suddenly the valuation skyrockets into territory that defies imagination. Why is this coin sometimes said to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, market hype, historical significance, and collector demand. Certain 2007 cents have been reported with extraordinary striking errors such as double die obverse, off center strikes, or even rare unintentional die clashes that give them unique appearances, making them essentially one of a kind. When you add the fact that Lincoln cents are among the most collected coins in the world, with millions of enthusiasts constantly searching through rolls looking for rare varieties, the potential for record-breaking sales becomes very real. And indeed, there are stories of special 2007 cents selling at private auctions for astronomical amounts, fueling speculation and creating the legend of the coin now being quoted with a market value as high as $465 million, which places it among the most valuable modern coins ever recorded. But beyond value, there is something almost poetic about a penny that could be worth so much. After all, the penny is often overlooked, undervalued, even disregarded by many Americans who leave them sitting in jars or lying forgotten in drawers. Yet the 2007 cent reminds us that even the smallest coin in the American economy can hold stories of great worth. When you study the coin carefully, you begin to see its weight of 2.5 grams not as a trivial detail but as a technical decision made by the mint to balance cost and durability. You see the D mint mark not just as a letter but as a symbol of the Denver Mint's proud legacy dating back to 1906 when it first began striking coins for the nation. You see Abraham Lincoln not just as a portrait but as a symbol of freedom, unity, and the enduring fight for equality that resonates across generations. And you see the Lincoln Memorial not just as a building but as a shrine that connects the cent to American heritage And the very ideals of democracy. Collectors who chase after the 2007 D penny are often not just chasing monetary profit but also history. They are captivated by the idea that this everyday object, a coin passed from hand to hand in grocery stores, gas stations, and diners, could secretly hold extraordinary value hidden in plain sight. Some collectors will go through thousands of coins searching for that one piece with a doubled die strike where the date or the word liberty might appear doubled under magnification. Others search for proof like strikes with mirror finish qualities that make the coin shine as if it were specially struck, and in those small details lie the possibility of immense wealth and, more importantly, a connection to the fascinating journey of coinage itself. Welcome back. Coinology. The 2007 D cent also occupies an interesting position in history because it was struck just 2 years before the Lincoln bicentennial in 2009, when the United States Mint introduced 4 different reverse designs to commemorate Lincoln's 200th birthday and the 100th anniversary of the Lincoln Cent series. So the 2007 D is one of the last of the Lincoln Memorial reverse coins, marking the end of nearly half a century of the same design. In this sense, it is historically important because it represents the closing chapter of an era, and coins from transitional periods are often especially desirable to collectors who understand the symbolic weight of such changes. When we imagine the journey of a single 2007 D penny, we can picture it leaving the Denver Mint freshly struck, its surface glowing with that new copper sheen, perhaps being transported in massive bags or boxes to banks or Federal Reserve facilities. From there it enters circulation through businesses, individuals, and families. Maybe it pays for a gumball at a vending machine, maybe it gets handed as part of change at a diner, maybe it sits for years in a jar until someone rolls it up and deposits it back into the bank, and then perhaps years later a collector purchases a roll of uncirculated 2007 D cents and begins inspecting them under magnification, and suddenly their eyes widen as they realize they may have stumbled upon a rare error worth millions. In that moment, the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary. When we continue thinking about the 2007 D Lincoln Cent, we cannot overlook the role of the Denver Mint itself, because the mint mark D stamp just below the date tells us that this coin came from a facility that has been responsible for producing billions of coins since the early 20th century. The Denver Mint, located in Colorado, is one of the most prolific mints in the world, striking not only pennies, but nickels, dimes, quarters, half dollars, and dollars. Its history goes back to the Colorado Gold Rush era, when gold discoveries in the Rocky Mountains led to the need for a branch mint, and since its opening in 1906, the Denver Mint has been central to American coin production. By 2007, it was producing billions of coins annually, which means that while the 2007 D penny is not scarce in terms of overall mintage, the rarity comes not from the sheer number produced but from the special qualities and variations that certain specimens possess. The fascinating part is that the physical specifications of this coin are so humble: 2.5 grams of mostly zinc coated with a thin shell of copper, and yet collectors have elevated specific examples to astronomical valuations. This duality between humble material and extraordinary worth has always been part of the allure of numismatics, because coins are never just about their intrinsic metal content, they are about the story, the art, the errors, the context, and the passions of collectors. When you hold a 2007 D cent in your hand, you may be holding nothing more than 1 cent of purchasing power, but if that coin has a double die obverse, or if it was struck on a wrong planchet, or if it remains in perfect mint state condition with lustrous surfaces untouched by circulation, then suddenly that coin transcends its humble origins and becomes a coveted treasure. To understand why collectors can attribute values as high as $465 million to a single coin, we have to look at the psychology of the collector. Market numismatics is driven by rarity and competition. Collectors are always searching for something unique, something that no one else has, and when a coin is confirmed to be a one-of-a-kind piece with a dramatic error or perfect strike, its value can climb into unimaginable territory. History has shown us examples of coins like the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1794 Flowing Hair silver dollar selling for tens of millions of dollars at auction. So when news circulates that a 2007 D penny with extraordinary attributes has been valued in the hundreds of millions, it electrifies the community and adds to the mystique of the coin. Even if the majority of 2007 D cents will never be worth more than face value, the mere existence of that possibility fuels an endless wave of interest. Now, if we look carefully at the design elements, we begin to appreciate just how iconic the Lincoln Cent really is. The portrait of Abraham Lincoln is not just a portrait, it is a symbol of resilience and leadership. Lincoln guided the United States through its darkest hour, the Civil War, and preserved the Union. His face on the penny serves as a reminder of sacrifice and determination. Every time someone glances at the coin, the detail of his hair, the careful carving of his profile, the subtle shading of his cheek and jawline, all of these elements capture the dignity of one of America's most beloved presidents. Then on the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stands tall, a structure completed in 1922 to honor Lincoln's legacy and inscribed with his words and ideals on the actual monument in Washington, D.C. When this image was chosen for the cent in 1959, it was meant to connect the smallest coin in the nation's currency with one of the greatest figures in American history. The placement of inscriptions also carries meaning. "In God We Trust" speaks to the national motto and has been on the penny since 1909, a phrase that reflects American faith and values. Liberty reminds us of the founding ideals of freedom and Equality. The date 2007 places the coin firmly in its historical context, just 2 years before the great celebration of Lincoln's bicentennial. The mint mark D signifies Denver but also points to a proud tradition of Western coinage, and on the reverse, United States of America in bold letters claims the coin is a product of national unity and sovereignty, e pluribus unum, Latin for out of many one ties. Back to the original ideals of the Republic, and 1 cent reminds everyone that despite its small size, this coin is still money recognized in commerce and law. When we look at value discussions surrounding the 2007 D penny, we must also talk about grading systems, because the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth millions often comes down to condition. The Sheldon grading scale runs from poor at 1 to mint state perfection at 70, and collectors place tremendous emphasis on coins that grade high at 2007 D penny that grades MS 70, meaning absolutely flawless with no visible marks, even under magnification, would already command attention. But if that same coin also exhibited an extraordinary error such as a dramatic die clash or off-center strike, its rarity would skyrocket, and so would its value. We must also consider proof-like qualities. Sometimes certain coins struck with fresh dies exhibit reflective fields almost like mirrors. These proof-like qualities add beauty and desirability, further enhancing market value. Consider for a moment how many hands a typical penny might pass through during its lifespan. It might be exchanged at stores, schools, vending machines, and banks thousands of times before finally being retired, yet the rare uncirculated examples survive untouched, usually pulled directly from mint rolls or bags by collectors who recognized their potential value early on. It is these pristine survivors that dominate auction catalogs and drive headlines when they bring extraordinary prices. The 2007 D penny thus becomes a metaphor for hidden potential, something ordinary transformed by condition, rarity, and history into something extraordinary beyond its design and rarity. The cultural symbolism of the penny itself is worth exploring for generations. Americans have joked about pennies being nearly worthless. Some even debate whether the penny should continue to be minted at all due to production costs that exceed its face value. Yet at the same time, stories of rare pennies worth thousands or millions continue to capture imaginations. The contradiction is striking. A coin many consider obsolete can also be one of the most valuable objects on earth, depending on its unique characteristics. The 2007 D penny embodies this contradiction perfectly. For every ordinary penny in circulation, there exists the dream that one might turn out to be a life-changing discovery. The economic side of this coin story is also fascinating, because numismatics is not just a hobby but an entire market, with supply and demand driving prices. Collectors set up shows, dealers trade coins in person, and online auctions bring global attention to rare pieces. When a headline circulates that a 2007 D penny has been valued at hundreds of millions of dollars, it not only excites collectors but also casual observers who may rush to check their own pocket change. Suddenly, rolls of pennies that were once overlooked become the subject of intense scrutiny. Magnifying glasses or purchased coin holders are filled with specimens, and a whole new generation of hobbyists is born, chasing the dream that they too might stumble across one of these incredible rarities. The sheer number of 2007 D pennies produced might suggest that none of them could ever be rare, but rarity is not about quantity alone, it is about survival and unique qualities. Billions may have been minted, but only a handful may exist in gem condition or with dramatic mint errors that make them stand apart in the world of coins. Survival in perfect condition is surprisingly difficult, because coins are designed to circulate, and even the smallest contact marks can lower a grade. That is why when collectors find one still gleaming with full original luster, untouched since the day it left the mint, they recognize that such a coin is something truly special. The story of the 2007 D Lincoln cent also teaches us something about the nature of value itself, because when we stop to think about it, a coin's worth is not fixed by its metal content or its face value alone, but rather by what people believe it to be worth. In the eyes of collectors, value is shaped by history, rarity, condition, and demand, and in some extraordinary cases that belief can elevate an object that costs less than a penny to produce into an artifact worth hundreds of millions of dollars. This transformation of perception is what makes numismatics so fascinating. The 2007 D penny is a perfect illustration of this phenomenon, because while billions of them were minted, the excitement surrounding rare examples has created a narrative that places certain pieces in the same category as priceless works of art. Imagine for a moment a collector sitting at a wooden desk under the glow of a lamp, carefully opening a roll of 2007 D pennies purchased from a bank. They spread the coins out one by one, examining each with a magnifying glass. Most of the coins look identical, simple copper-plated zinc discs with Lincoln's portrait and the Lincoln Memorial reverse, but then one coin catches their eye. Perhaps the date shows doubling, where the numbers 2007 seem to have been struck twice, slightly offset, or perhaps the word liberty appears doubled or misaligned. Their pulse quickens, because they know they may be looking at a double die obverse, one of the most dramatic and sought-after types of mint error. In that moment, an ordinary coin transforms into a treasure, and the collector realizes that they hold something few others in the world possess. The fascination with error coins drives much of the modern penny market. Errors can occur in many forms: off-center strikes, where the design is shifted, leaving part of the coin blank; broad strikes, where the collar fails and the coin expands beyond its usual diameter; die cracks that leave raised lines across the design; clipped planchets, where a Piece of the coin is missing. Even coins struck on the wrong planchet entirely, such as a penny struck on a dime blank. Each of these variations tells a story of the minting process, and each can turn a coin into a rarity. In the case of the 2007 D penny, certain spectacular errors have become the stuff of legend, with reports of unique specimens fetching record sums and feeding the belief that one coin could be valued at $465 million or more. But let us also reflect on the artistry that makes the Lincoln cent so enduring. Victor David Brenner, the sculptor behind the original design in 1909, left a lasting legacy when he crafted Lincoln's profile. His initials VDB famously appeared on the reverse of the earliest coins, sparking controversy that led to their temporary removal before being restored in later years. The design has evolved, but Lincoln's profile has remained constant for over a century, making it the longest-running portrait on any circulating American coin. By the time the 2007 D penny was struck, Lincoln's image had already become deeply woven into the fabric of American identity. Schoolchildren collected pennies to fill folders with dates, coin clubs formed around the Lincoln cent, and even ordinary families kept jars of pennies as silent witnesses to the passage of time. The Lincoln Memorial reverse, introduced in 1959, brought a new layer of symbolism, linking the smallest coin to one of the most important monuments in Washington, D.C. This reverse lasted until 2008, which means the 2007 D penny was part of the final chapter before the bicentennial designs of 2009 and the shield reverse of 2010. Collectors often prize coins from the end of a design's lifecycle because they mark transitions in history. The 2007 D cent therefore not only carries Lincoln's image but also the weight of nearly 50 years of the memorial reverse design, and as such it represents the closing pages of a story that had been told across billions of coins for half a century. When we talk about weight, it is important to remember that the 2007 D penny weighs 2.5 grams and is made of 97.5% zinc with a 2.5% copper plating. This composition was introduced in 1982 when the mint switched from solid copper to zinc to save on costs because the price of copper had risen above the face value of the coin. This means that anyone holding a 2007 D cent is holding a piece of a long debate about the economics of coinage. Some argue that producing the penny costs more than it is worth, while others argue that the coin remains an important part of American tradition and commerce. Either way, the material composition and weight are integral parts of its story, and they are the backdrop against which extraordinary rarities stand out. Now think about the circulation journey of a penny struck in Denver in 2007. It could have been shipped across the country, ending up in New York, Los Angeles, or Chicago. It could have been used in countless transactions. Perhaps a child received it as change when buying candy, perhaps it was tossed into a fountain as a wish, perhaps it sat forgotten in a car's cup holder for years, or perhaps it was rolled into a collector's set straight from the bank, never to circulate at all. Every penny has a story, and the 2007 D cent story is told through millions of personal interactions. But among these stories are rare paths where a coin escapes the wear and tear of circulation, remaining pristine, or where it emerges with a dramatic error that changes its destiny forever. Those are the coins that collectors chase, and those are the coins that command extraordinary sums. The mystique of the 2007 D penny is also fueled by modern technology and the internet, because in the past stories of rare coins circulated slowly through magazines, coin clubs, and auctions, but today a single headline about a rare penny selling for millions can reach millions of readers, instantly inspiring a surge of interest in searching through pocket change. Countless YouTube videos, blogs, and forums now discuss the possibility of finding a 2007 D cent worth of fortune, and this viral interest feeds back into the market itself by increasing demand, awareness, and excitement. It becomes a cycle where myth and reality blend together, and even if only one or two extraordinary examples exist, the idea that they might be out there is enough to keep millions of people looking. Collectors often describe the thrill of the hunt as more valuable than the coin itself. The joy of searching rolls of pennies, the anticipation of discovering something special, the knowledge that history might be hiding in the palm of your hand. The 2007 D cent embodies this thrill perfectly, because while billions exist, the chance that one of them could be worth hundreds of millions fuels endless searching and endless storytelling. It is not just a coin, it is a symbol of possibility and imagination. The idea that something so small and ordinary could change someone's life overnight is irresistible, and that is why the legend of the 2007 D penny continues to grow year after year. The deeper we dive into the tale of the 2007 D Lincoln cent, the more layers of meaning begin to unfold, because this coin is not just a piece of metal struck with images, it is a time capsule that captures the values, priorities, and craftsmanship of the era in which it was minted. When we look back at 2007, the United States was in the middle of rapid economic changes. Technology was advancing, the financial crisis was looming, and yet through it all the mint continued its tradition of producing billions of coins to keep the nation's commerce flowing. The Lincoln cent, minted in Denver that year, was both utterly ordinary and at the same time destined to become a legend in the eyes of collectors who would later place unimaginable value on special examples. It is in this dual nature that the magic of the penny lies, because for every person who tossed a 2007 D cent into a change jar, there exists the possibility that one coin in that jar could be worth enough to buy skyscrapers, fleets of cars, or priceless works of art. If we focus again on the design, we realize that every detail is deliberate. Lincoln's profile, chosen in 1909, remains timeless, his gaze forward, calm and resolute, his hair carefully chiseled, his bow tie visible just beneath his chin. All of these small details honor the man who led the nation through its darkest conflict. Then on the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stands not just as an image of a building, but as a representation of unity of the American people across time and geography. Inside the memorial, on the real structure, Lincoln's words are inscribed, calling for malice toward none and charity for all, ideals that echo through the design of the coin itself. So when collectors prize the 2007 D penny, they are not only valuing metal and mint marks, they are cherishing symbols that reflect the nation's identity. The physical weight of 2.5 grams may seem insignificant, but in the realm of coinage, weight is a fundamental detail. Every gram, every fraction of a gram matters, because it reflects the decision of the mint to maintain consistency, precision, and trust in the nation's currency. If a coin were to weigh significantly more or less, it could indicate an error or a counterfeit, and those differences can transform value dramatically. A 2007 cent struck on a planchet intended for a dime or even on a foreign coin blank would suddenly become a numismatic marvel because it defies the rules that govern ordinary production. This is why serious collectors weigh coins, examine edges, inspect surfaces, and compare them to the official specifications. Those rare deviations are the keys to extraordinary valuations. The mint mark D is another detail loaded with meaning because it ties the coin directly to the Denver Mint, a facility nestled in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. The Denver Mint has a proud history of serving the nation with billions of coins annually, and its mint mark has appeared on countless coins since the early 20th century. To a casual observer, the tiny letter D might seem unimportant, but to collectors it is a crucial marker that distinguishes this coin from those minted in Philadelphia or San Francisco. It tells us where the coin was born, where the die struck metal, where machines pressed copper plating onto zinc planchets, and where ordinary coins turned into extraordinary artifacts. Denver's contribution to the 2007 cent is part of a long tradition that stretches back over a century, and each coin with the D carries a piece of that story. When discussions of value emerge, people often ask, how can a penny be worth hundreds of millions of dollars? And the answer lies in the rare combination of demand, rarity, historical significance, and collector psychology. Markets are not always rational, they are driven by passion, stories, and the human desire to own something unique. Just as a painting by Van Gogh or a manuscript by Shakespeare can command astronomical sums despite being made of canvas or paper, so too can a penny become priceless when collectors view it as a singular treasure. The 2007 cent sits at the intersection of rarity and symbolism, and that is why even rumors of a specimen worth $465 million can ignite global fascination, because people understand that value is not simply measured in materials but in meaning. Consider also the journey of one of these pennies through circulation. Perhaps it left the Denver Mint in 2007 rattling in a bag with millions of others transported by armored trucks to a Federal Reserve Bank. From there it was shipped to a small bank in Kansas, where it was rolled and distributed into the hands of a customer. That customer, perhaps a teenager, took it as change when buying gas and handed it to a cashier. The cashier placed it in the register. It passed through dozens of hands, maybe into a tip jar, maybe into a vending machine, maybe into the pocket of a child who placed it into a piggy bank and forgot it for years. Perhaps it ended up in a coin roll that a collector purchased at face value, only to discover one day that inside the roll was a perfect gem with a double die error worth millions. Each of these possible journeys shows us that coins are not static, they are actors in the play of everyday life, carrying stories, experiences, and value wherever they go in the world of collecting. Condition matters as much as history. A penny that has circulated heavily, worn down with scratches, dings, and discoloration will almost never bring more than a few cents in value, but a coin that has survived in pristine mint state, untouched by human hands since the moment it was struck, can suddenly leap into the ranks of the most valuable in the world. Coin grading services like PCGS and NGC exist precisely to certify these conditions. Collectors trust their judgment because a grade of MS67 or MS68 or in the rarest cases MS70 can mean the difference between a coin worth $1 and a coin worth millions. For the 2007 D penny, high-grade examples exist, but they are rare, and it is those top-tier coins, especially if paired with spectacular mint errors, that fuel the dreams of unimaginable wealth. What also makes the 2007 cent historically significant is its timing. It was minted just 2 years before the 2009 bicentennial of Lincoln's birth, when the mint would introduce 4 special reverses showing scenes from Lincoln's life. This meant that the 2007 penny was among the last to carry the Lincoln Memorial reverse, a design that had graced the back of the cent for nearly 50 years, from 1959 until 2008. In this sense, the coin is part of a transitional moment in American coinage, marking the end of one era and the anticipation of another. Collectors often value coins from such transitional years because they represent turning points and milestones in history. Beyond the technical and historical, the cultural role of the penny is also worth examining. For decades, Americans have debated the penny's future. Some argue it costs more to produce than its value in commerce, others say it clutters transactions and should be eliminated. Yet despite these debates, the penny remains a fixture in American culture. Sayings like "a penny saved is a penny earned" or "offering a penny for your thoughts" reveal the deep symbolic hold that this coin has on everyday life. Even in an era where digital transactions dominate, people still pick up pennies from sidewalks, believing them to bring good luck. The 2007 cent therefore is not only a coin but also a cultural icon a link to traditions, beliefs, and everyday experiences that stretch across generations. When thinking about the extraordinary market value attributed to some examples of the 2007 Lincoln cent, it is important to consider how stories shape collecting history, because many of the world's most famous coins are not only valuable for their rarity but also for the legends that surround them. The 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle, for example, became famous because most of them were ordered, melted down, yet a few escaped, and their story turned them into treasures that later sold for millions. Similarly, the 2007 penny has become legendary because of reports of rare errors and flawless specimens that ignited imaginations across the world. Once a coin acquires a reputation of this magnitude, it transcends its material existence and becomes a piece of living myth, something that people whisper about at coin shows and discuss endlessly online. It is this storytelling combined with numismatic evidence that propels certain coins into the stratosphere of value the collector market thrives on. Details in the 2007 cent provides endless opportunities for detail hunting. A doubled die obverse where letters or numbers appear doubled under magnification is one of the most coveted varieties because it demonstrates a mistake during die preparation. An off-center strike where the design is shifted significantly, leaving blank space on the planchet, creates dramatic eye appeal. A coin struck through grease where parts of the design are missing gives it a ghostly appearance, and each of these varieties can make the coin unique in its own way. One-of-a-kind pieces are particularly powerful in the collector world because by definition only one person can own them at a time, which fuels competition and drives up price to astronomical levels. At the same time, the fascination with the 2007 penny is not limited to seasoned collectors. Even beginners and casual observers are drawn into the search. Because pennies are so accessible, almost everyone has pennies lying around in drawers, jars, or piggy banks. The barrier to entry is so low that anyone can participate in the hunt for treasure, and this accessibility has helped the story of the 2007 cent spread far beyond the traditional numismatic community. It has become part of popular culture. The idea that you could find a coin in your pocket worth hundreds of millions is irresistible. It feels like a modern-day gold rush, except instead of digging through mountains of rock, people are sifting through pocket change and coin rolls with magnifying glasses. The emotional connection to Lincoln also adds to the coin's appeal because Abraham Lincoln is not just a historical figure, he is a symbol of unity, freedom, and perseverance. His face on the penny represents more than just money, it represents ideals that resonate deeply with Americans and with people around the world. Lincoln guided the country through the Civil War, preserved the Union, and issued the Emancipation Proclamation. His presence on the smallest denomination reminds everyone that greatness can be found even in humble places. So when a 2007 cent becomes the subject of million-dollar headlines, it feels fitting that Lincoln's image is at the center of the story, because his legacy itself is one of transformation from humble beginnings to enduring greatness. To fully appreciate the 2007 penny, we must also consider its place in the timeline of coinage history. The Lincoln cent was introduced in 1909, replacing the Indian head cent, and it became the first circulating coin in the United States to feature a real person instead of an allegorical figure. At the time, this was a revolutionary idea, and it marked a turning point in American coin design. From that moment forward, presidents and leaders began appearing on more coins, and Lincoln became the first to hold that honor. The wheat cent reverse lasted until 1958. Then in 1959, the Lincoln Memorial reverse was introduced to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. That design lasted nearly half a century until 2008, so the 2007 penny stands near the very end of that chapter. A coin struck in the final years before change would arrive in 2009 with 4 special bicentennial reverses, and then in 2010 the shield reverse that continues today. It is this sense of transition that makes the 2007 cent so intriguing, because collectors often place extra importance on coins that come at the close of an era, just as the final year of the wheat cent in 1958 is highly sought after, or the final year of the Buffalo nickel in 1938. Coins from these turning points capture the feeling of history in motion. The 2007 penny therefore is more than just a coin, it is a marker of change, a bridge between the long-standing memorial reverse and the new designs that would follow, and collectors cherish it as part of that story. We should also think about the coin's condition, because as every serious collector knows, condition is everything. A penny that has been in circulation may have scratches from being tossed in drawers, contact marks from other coins, discoloration from exposure to air, and all of these factors reduce its grade. But a coin that has been preserved in mint state, fresh from the bank with full original luster, can command tremendous premiums. Coin grading agencies use the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70, and a 2007 penny graded MS70 is exceedingly rare. Such a coin would already attract strong interest, but when coupled with unique errors or proof-like qualities, it could easily climb into legendary status. This is why some specimens are discussed with values in the hundreds of millions. They are believed to be not only unique but also flawless symbols of perfection in a coin that billions of people thought of as ordinary. Think about the irony that surrounds the penny. It is often dismissed as nearly worthless. People leave them on counters, ignore them on the ground, or collect them in jars without a second thought. Yet at the same time, certain pennies have sold for thousands, even millions of dollars, and in the case of the 2007 cent, speculation reaches into the hundreds of millions. This contradiction between worthlessness and pricelessness is part of the reason why pennies captivate imaginations. They remind us that value is not fixed, it is created by stories, rarity, and desire, and the 2007 penny is the ultimate expression of that truth. Even the sound of the penny Clinking in a jar carries meaning because for many people pennies are tied to childhood memories saving. Coins in a piggy bank, learning to count change at a store, using pennies in school projects, or dropping one into a fountain while making a wish. The penny carries nostalgia and sentiment, and when collectors assign extraordinary value to one particular year or mint mark, it taps into those memories and emotions, turning the coin into more than just a financial asset. It becomes a piece of personal and national history. When people hear that a 2007 penny has been valued at hundreds of millions of dollars, their first reaction is disbelief. How could something so small and so common be worth more than mansions, private islands, or priceless art collections? But disbelief is exactly what fuels curiosity, because the moment people start asking how and why, they step into the world of numismatics and begin to discover the layers of rarity, history, and symbolism that make coins so fascinating. The 2007 penny serves as the perfect doorway into this world because it combines accessibility with mystery. Almost everyone has held a penny, but almost no one realizes that within the endless ocean of coins, a handful exist that defy expectations and challenge our understanding of value. The Denver Mint, where the 2007 cent was struck, is itself a symbol of precision and tradition. Coins are minted there with staggering efficiency. Machines press blanks into planchets, feed them through dies, and strike them with immense pressure to create the images of Lincoln and the Lincoln Memorial. Each step is carefully controlled, yet even in this environment of precision, small mistakes can occur, and those mistakes are what collectors treasure. A doubled die might result from a misalignment during the creation of the die itself. An off-center strike might come from the coin not being properly seated in the press. A wrong planchet error might happen if a blank intended for another denomination slips into the machine. Each of these tiny lapses in the minting process creates something unique, something that collectors view as a miracle of chance, and when such miracles survive in flawless condition, they can become priceless. Imagine the excitement of discovering such a coin in the most ordinary of circumstances. Someone might be emptying a coin jar to take to the bank. They pour pennies into their hands, and one looks just a little different. Maybe the design is slightly off. Maybe the lettering looks doubled. Maybe the coin gleams in a way that others do not. They set it aside, examine it under better light, perhaps under a magnifying glass, and soon realize that this ordinary-looking coin could actually be worth a fortune. That sudden transformation from pocket change to treasure is the thrill that keeps collectors and casual searchers alike engaged in the hunt. It is a story of hidden potential that anyone could stumble upon, and that possibility makes the 2007 penny legendary. The value of $465 million attached to some reports of this coin might sound exaggerated, but it reveals something important about the nature of collecting, because when a coin is considered unique and historically significant, there is effectively no ceiling on what it could be worth. The price becomes a reflection of what someone is willing to pay, and when wealthy collectors compete to own the ultimate rarity, prices can leap far beyond what anyone thought possible. This has happened before with famous coins like the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar or the 1933 double eagle, and it continues with stories like the 2007 cent, because human desire for ownership of something truly unique cannot be easily measured in dollars. The Lincoln cent series also adds layers of emotional attachment because it has been in circulation for more than a century. Generations have grown up with Lincoln's image in their hands. Children collected pennies in blue Whitman folders. Parents passed them down as teaching tools, and families saved jars of them as symbols of thrift and patience. The penny is woven into American life so deeply that when a particular year or mint mark is rumored to be worth millions, people feel an instant connection. They do not need to be experts to feel the thrill. They just need to know that they too have handled pennies and could possibly own something extraordinary in terms of physical detail. The 2007 cent continues to demonstrate how even the most technical specifications can influence value. At 19 mm in diameter and 1.52 mm thick, it adheres to the exact measurements required for pennies. Since the switch to copper-plated zinc in 1982, the consistency is what gives collectors confidence. But when a coin deviates even slightly from these measurements, suspicion of rarity arises. A coin struck too thin or too thick, a coin with reading from another denomination accidentally imprinted, or a coin with incorrect weight, these become evidence of rare minting anomalies. Each anomaly becomes a story, and each story adds to the possibility of massive value. The culture around pennies is also filled with folklore. People say, find a penny, pick it up all day long, you'll have good luck. This simple rhyme captures the idea that even the smallest coin carries a hint of magic and possibility. When applied to the 2007 penny, this superstition takes on new meaning, because here we have a coin that could literally transform someone's life. The luck of finding one could mean going from ordinary circumstances to unimaginable wealth overnight. This blending of folklore, superstition, and numismatic reality makes the 2007 cent not just a coin but a legend that resonates beyond the collector community. We must also reflect on how the 2007 penny connects to the broader narrative of American coinage. The United States has always used its coins as canvases to tell stories. The eagle, the buffalo, liberty figures, presidents, and national monuments, all chosen to embody ideals and identity. The Lincoln cent is one of the longest-running examples of this tradition, and the 2007 penny is a continuation of that story. Coins are art, history, and economics combined in metal form, and when one coin out of billions stands out as unique, it carries the weight of all those stories with it, making it priceless to those who understand. Collectors often describe the experience of finding or even dreaming about finding such a coin as a form of treasure hunting, but unlike digging for gold in distant mountains. This treasure hunt is accessible to everyone. It requires no shovels, no ships, no dangerous expeditions, just patience, careful observation, and perhaps a magnifying glass. The idea that a fortune could be hiding in a handful of coins from a bankroll makes the hunt democratic in nature. Anyone, anywhere could be the next person to discover a record-breaking 2007 penny, and this democratic accessibility is what makes the legend so powerful. The world of coins has always balanced between the tangible and the symbolic, and the 2007 penny sits perfectly in that balance, because on one hand it is nothing more than a copper-plated zinc disc worth a single cent in face value, but on the other hand it is a gateway into history, storytelling, and dreams of fortune. When collectors speak about it in hushed tones, they are not only talking about weight, diameter, and mint marks, they are speaking about the idea that value can be hidden in plain sight, that within the most ordinary object there could be something extraordinary waiting to be discovered. And this is why the legend of the 2007 cent continues to grow with every retelling, every new claim, and every fresh discovery that surfaces online or at coin shows. Imagine a collector walking through a convention hall, the air buzzing with conversations about rare errors, unique strikes, and market trends, tables lined with cases full of glimmering coins from every era, and among all the treasures there is talk about the elusive 2007 penny, that one specimen that was said to have achieved a flawless grade, that one rumored to have been sold quietly in a private transaction for an unfathomable sum. Whispers circulate, stories spread, and with each retelling the coin gains new layers of mystery and allure. This is how legends are built, not only through facts but through the way they ignite imagination and desire. The 2007 cent has reached that point where it is more than a coin. It is an idea, a myth wrapped in metal. The idea that a simple penny could be worth $465 million also challenges the way people think about money itself, because usually we see value as something fixed. A dollar is a dollar, a penny is a penny, but in the collector world value is elastic, shaped by rarity, condition, and desire, and when those factors converge on a single object, the results can be astonishing. This teaches an important lesson about perception, that sometimes the things dismissed as worthless can be the very ones that carry untold value, and the 2007 penny is the ultimate embodiment of that lesson. For many collectors, the pursuit of this coin is not only about wealth but also about the thrill of the chase, because collecting is deeply rooted in curiosity and discovery. The act of searching through rolls of pennies with patience and determination is itself rewarding. Each coin examined tells a story. Some show heavy wear from years of circulation, some gleam like new, fresh from a bank bag, some reveal small imperfections or curious details, and each one adds to the experience. The possibility of finding a life-changing rarity among them only heightens the excitement, turning the process into a modern treasure hunt. The design of the coin itself continues to draw admiration, because the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, sculpted by Victor David Brenner over a century earlier, remains one of the most enduring designs in American numismatics. The detail in Lincoln's profile, the sharpness of his beard, the solemn expression that conveys wisdom and resolve, all captured in a coin barely larger than a fingertip. The reverse design featuring the Lincoln Memorial adds another layer of symbolism, connecting the man to the monument built in his honor, and for decades this pairing of obverse and reverse has carried profound meaning. When collectors examine the 2007 cent under magnification, they are not only looking for errors, they are appreciating the artistry that has endured through time. The Denver mint mark beneath the date adds another layer to the story, because mint marks themselves are small but powerful indicators. They tell us where the coin was struck, and they shape rarity and desirability across the series. For example, certain years where one mint produced fewer coins than another create key dates that collectors seek. The 1909 SVDB penny, for instance, owes much of its fame to the small San Francisco mintage combined with the initials of the designer, and in the case of the 2007 cent, the Denver mint production was vast, but it is not the quantity alone that matters, it is the quality and the rare anomalies that make certain examples stand out from the billions struck. Some collectors speculate that part of the allure of the 2007 penny comes from its place in time. The year 2007 was just before the dramatic shifts in the American economy leading to the financial crisis. Coins from that era serve as silent witnesses to history circulating through a society on the brink of transformation. They also represent the final calm before the 2009 bicentennial changes to the Lincoln cent design, and in that way the 2007 penny feels like the closing lines of a long chapter, a last breath before something new began. Coins that carry such historical weight often become touchstones for collectors, because they symbolize not just money but eras of change. We must also consider the psychological power of rarity, because even though billions of 2007 pennies were minted, the handful of unique errors or flawless specimens are what collectors focus on. It is human nature to be drawn to the rarest, the unattainable, and when a story spreads that one such coin sold or could sell for hundreds of millions, it creates a magnet of desire that pulls people in from every direction. The story itself becomes part of the value, because without it the coin would be another common cent, but with it the coin becomes legendary. At the same time, the coin functions almost like a lottery ticket for the public, because every penny examined holds the possibility of being something extraordinary. The difference is that unlike buying a ticket, people already have pennies in their possession. They are free to search and the investment is minimal. The upside, however, could be life-changing. This makes the 2007 cent particularly fascinating because it democratizes the dream of wealth. Anyone, anywhere could stumble across one. It requires no insider knowledge, no expensive equipment, just curiosity, patience, and attention to detail, and that possibility ensures that the legend will continue to spread. The fascination with the 2007 D penny also ties into the broader psychology of collecting because human beings have always been drawn to objects that represent rarity and permanence in a world where so much is fleeting and intangible. Coins offer something solid. They can be held, weighed, examined under magnification, and passed down from generation to generation. The 2007 D cent is particularly powerful because it combines this tangibility with mystery and rumor, creating an object that feels both real and mythical at the same time. People do not simply see it as a coin, they see it as a chance at history, a chance at fortune, and a chance at owning something that connects them directly to a story larger than themselves. Collectors often talk about provenance, the documented history of a particular coin, where it was found, who owned it, how it changed hands, and what prices it achieved at auction. Provenance transforms a coin into a living narrative. For example, a 2007 D penny that was discovered in circulation by a teenager and then certified by a major grading service before being sold at a famous auction house could carry with it a story as powerful as its physical attributes. Collectors love to say that every coin has a story, but in the case of the 2007 D cent, the story itself is part of the value. The journey from a Denver press in 2007 to a global stage of fame is as captivating as the coin's physical details. The weight of the coin, 2.5 grams in standard copper-plated zinc composition, may seem trivial, but in the numismatic world even these technical numbers can spark interest. When collectors place coins on precision scales, they are not only verifying authenticity, they are searching for anomalies, because a coin that weighs slightly more or slightly less than standard could be a sign of an error, planchet, or a striking issue, and such deviations can make the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth millions. So, when a 2007 D cent is reported to weigh outside the normal tolerance, collectors immediately take notice, and these reports become fuel for further speculation and excitement. Beyond the physical, there is also cultural nostalgia. The penny has been part of American life for over a century, appearing in films, songs, classrooms, and family traditions. Many people remember being given pennies as children to buy candy or to save in jars. Grandparents would share stories about looking for rare wheat pennies, and now a new generation hears about the 2007 D penny as the modern-day treasure coin. This intergenerational continuity adds to the magic because the coin becomes more than an object, it becomes a shared experience across time. The idea that a grandfather once searched for rare 1909 SVD cents and now a grandson searches for 2007 D rarities creates a sense of legacy and belonging that strengthens the legend. The artistry of Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln also deserves continued appreciation, because while billions of pennies have carried this design, the subtleties of the engraving remind us that coins are not just money, they are miniature sculptures. Brenner's work captured Lincoln's determination in the set of his jaw, his wisdom in the lines of his face, his humanity in the slight softness around the eyes, and the dignity of his profile remains as powerful today as it was in 1909 when it first appeared on the cent. When people gaze at a 2007 D penny under magnification, they are not only searching for doubling or die cracks, they are encountering one of the most iconic images in American art. As for the Lincoln Memorial reverse designed by Frank Gasparo, it also carries meaning that deepens the appeal of the coin. It depicts the monument in Washington, D.C. in clear detail, with the tiny seated statue of Lincoln visible between the columns, a reminder that Lincoln himself is always at the center of the memorial, just as he is at the center of the penny. The symbolism is profound. Lincoln honored on both sides, one through his portrait and one through the building dedicated to him, and the 2007 D penny stands as one of the last years this pairing existed before the design was retired in 2008, making it historically significant as the end of an era. Coins struck at such turning points always command more attention because they symbolize closure as much as continuity. When examining the broader market, we see that coins valued in the hundreds of millions are not purely about their intrinsic worth, they are about prestige, ownership, and the human desire to hold something unique. For billionaires and elite collectors, owning the rarest coin is not simply about profit, it is about status and legacy. Just as owning a masterpiece by Da Vinci or a rare diamond conveys power and prestige, so too does owning the most legendary coin. The 2007 D penny in this sense becomes a cultural trophy, a prize that transcends numismatics and enters the realm of global icons. It is not surprising then that rumors swirl about private sales reaching astronomical figures, because for the right buyer the value is not measured in dollars but in what the object represents. At the same time, ordinary people continue to search through their change jars in hopes of finding one, because the dream is democratic, it belongs to everyone. Whether you are a billionaire chasing prestige or a student searching through coins at night, the allure is the same, the possibility that among billions of ordinary coins lies one extraordinary piece that could change everything. This shared dream across social and economic divides is part of why the story of the 2007 D penny endures and grows with each passing year. The legend of the 2007 D penny continues to thrive because it blends together the precision of minting with the unpredictability of chance, and chance is what gives coins their magic. When billions of coins are struck under carefully controlled conditions, the expectation is uniformity, every coin identical to the next, yet inevitably small deviations slip through, a faint doubling in the letters, a tiny crack in the die, a misalignment in the press, and suddenly one coin is no longer like the others. Suddenly it is rare, suddenly it is valuable. This idea that among oceans of sameness a handful of differences exist fuels the passion of collectors because they know that somewhere out there is the coin that everyone is looking for, the one that will stand above all others, and the 2007 descent has become the modern face of that search even outside of collector circles. The story has taken on a life of its own in news, articles, online forums, YouTube videos, and social media posts. The 2007 D penny is repeatedly named as one of the most valuable coins in circulation. People share images of their finds, ask for opinions, debate the authenticity of doubling or mint errors, and the discussion itself becomes part of the coin's fame. Each time the story spreads, it creates new believers, new searchers, and new possibilities, and in this way the coin has grown beyond the control of traditional numismatics. It has become part of mainstream curiosity, a phenomenon that combines fact, speculation, and imagination. The market value that people attach to this coin, reaching figures like $465 million, may sound impossible, but it is the product of a unique convergence of factors. First, there is the undeniable popularity of the Lincoln Cent series, which has one of the largest collector bases of any coin in history. Second, there is the role of errors and varieties, which always command premium attention. Third, there is the psychological fascination with pennies as humble objects turned into treasures, and finally there is the effect of storytelling itself, which magnifies value beyond the metal and the grade into something intangible. Once these forces combine, the 2007 D penny transforms into more than an object. It becomes an idea that can move markets and inspire dreams. The Denver Mint itself adds historical weight to the story because it has long been a cornerstone of American coinage, producing billions of coins every year. Its mint mark D has appeared on countless nickels, dimes, quarters, halves, and cents since the early 1900s, yet collectors always keep an eye on Denver coins because they sometimes carry unique traits compared to those struck in Philadelphia or San Francisco. The 2007 D penny is part of this tradition, and in some ways its story reminds collectors that even in the most industrialized mint, errors can happen and rarity can emerge. To appreciate the coin fully, we must return to its physical characteristics: a diameter of 19 millimeters, a weight of 2.5 grams, a composition of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper, and a thickness of 1.52 millimeters. On paper, these numbers describe every penny of its era, but in practice they are starting points for deeper investigation because within these measurements lies the possibility of variance. A planchet that missed proper plating might appear with unusual coloring. A coin struck slightly overweight or underweight might reveal the use of a wrong blank, and collectors study these details obsessively because they know that one small difference can make all the difference between common and priceless. The design itself continues to resonate because Abraham Lincoln is not merely another figure in American history, he is the embodiment of ideals that transcend generations: honesty, determination, resilience, and the will to preserve unity. The choice to place Lincoln on the penny in 1909 was more than symbolic, it was revolutionary. It honored a real person for the first time, and it ensured that his legacy would circulate through every hand in America for over a century. The 2007 D penny is one of the last bearing the Lincoln Memorial reverse carries that legacy forward, and collectors sense this weight of history when they hold the coin. It is not just metal, it is a monument in miniature, a tribute to a leader who shaped the nation. What makes the legend so enduring is also the paradox of the penny itself, because it is often treated as nearly worthless. People toss pennies into jars or leave them on sidewalks, yet at the same time certain pennies are valued beyond imagination. This contrast between neglect and reverence turns the penny into a symbol of hidden worth, a reminder that value is often overlooked and waiting to be discovered. And when a single 2007 D penny is said to be worth hundreds of millions, that symbolism reaches its peak. It tells us that no object, no matter how small, should be underestimated because within it may lie extraordinary value. Collectors who chase this coin often speak of the experience as a journey, not just to search, because along the way they discover other varieties, they learn about minting history, they connect with other enthusiasts, and they become part of a larger story. In this way, the 2007 descent is a catalyst for community and education. It brings people together in forums, it shows on YouTube channels, and in living rooms where families search through rolls of pennies late into the night. The coin becomes a shared pursuit, a bond that crosses generations and backgrounds, uniting people through curiosity and hope even beyond collectors. The penny has cultural resonance because it appears in sayings and traditions: penny for your thoughts, lucky penny, find a penny, pick it up, pennies from heaven. All of these phrases reflect the symbolic power of the coin, and when connected to the 2007 D penny, they amplify its legend even further. What once was a casual expression of luck becomes a literal possibility of life-changing fortune. The coin bridges language, superstition, and tangible wealth, making it both mystical and real. The 2007 D penny is more than just a piece of currency, it is a reminder that history, art, chance, and value can all collide in the most unexpected ways. A coin that most people overlook without a second thought can turn out to be the most extraordinary object of all. When collectors and dreamers speak of its value reaching $465 million, they are not only speaking about metal, they are speaking about meaning, because what this coin represents is far greater than its face value. It represents the thrill of discovery, the power of rarity, the persistence of history, and the eternal human desire to uncover treasure hidden in plain sight. Think of the journey of a single coin struck at the Denver Mint in 2007. It left the press with the same design as billions of others. It was bagged, boxed, shipped, distributed, and entered circulation. It may have been handed over at a store, dropped into a jar, saved by a child, or forgotten in a drawer. Yet among those billions, one coin, or a Handful of coins stand apart, carrying an air of perfection or a story that elevates it from the ordinary to the legendary. The thought that such a coin might still be out there waiting to be found fuels imaginations across the world. Every collector knows that the search itself is as meaningful as the discovery, because in looking for a 2007D rarity, people rediscover their connection to history, to artistry, and to possibility. When you hold a penny and turn it under the light, you are looking at more than a coin. You are looking at a century of tradition. You are looking at the face of a president who changed the course of a nation. You are looking at a tiny monument to perseverance and unity, and you are looking at the chance that what rests in your hand could be worth a fortune beyond comprehension. The extraordinary market values attributed to this coin, whether through verified sales or through rumors that continue to spread, serve as proof that value is created not only by supply and demand but also by imagination and desire. The 2007D penny has become an icon of hidden wealth, a modern legend that reminds everyone to look closely at the world around them, because treasures may not always appear in glittering gold or shining jewels. Sometimes they appear in copper-colored zinc, tucked away in a pocket or resting quietly at the bottom of a change jar. In the end, the story of the 2007D penny is about more than money. It is about wonder. It is about the joy of searching, the thrill of finding, and the belief that greatness can come from the smallest places. Abraham Lincoln himself rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most revered leaders in history, and in a fitting echo, his image on the humble penny has become the center of a story that inspires millions. The coin embodies the idea that no object, no person, no beginning is too small to achieve extraordinary significance. So the next time you see a penny, do not dismiss it. Take a moment to turn it in your hand, examine the date, look at the mint mark, and remember the story of the 2007D, because among the countless billions there may still be one waiting to be discovered, one coin that could change everything, one coin that proves the smallest piece of currency can hold the greatest of treasures. And that is why the legend of the 2007D Lincoln cent will endure forever, not just as a coin but as a dream.